Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I start my broadcast today from the back veranda overlooking what normally are hills that you can see. But I've got to be honest, the view this morning is more like a view that you would get looking up at the Black Hills in Wales, probably in the Cambrian area or by Brecon. You can't see nothing. The hills are completely obscured by cloud. It's been chucking it down all night. It's not cold, I've got to be honest, it's not cold, but it's just a very, very bleak and miserable at the moment. Not a day for doing anything, but probably going back to bed and watching a box set series of something. I can recommend The Flight Attendant as a good box set to watch at the moment. But anyway, that's the view at the moment from the hills. Obviously, even the chickens are not even out either. All our cats are in as well. Nice to see Donna Bird tuning in. Hello, Donna. Also, Carol Walker looking in as well. So today's news, and I've got to be honest, we've got lots of news. So let's just go through the house at the moment and into Studio One. All right, because I'm going to be doing the news today from my little impromptu studio that I have set up here in our spare room. So let me just click the screen round. Hello, there I am. And I'm going to be doing my news from here today. And I've got to be honest, it's going to be a long one. There's so much been going on within the last few hours since yesterday. So I'm going to crack on and give you the news for today. All right. Right, so believe it or not, it's 4th of January 2021. I think quite a few people will be back at work, those that are still working. It is day 58, as far as my recollection is, of the lockdown. And as I said, the weather is very, very up and down at the moment, or it's more down at the moment, horribly wet and horrible, and we're forecast for more. Right, the COVID for the last 24 hours, we've had 390 new infections recorded across the country. Now, that is up slightly, all right? The total infections to date now is been 140,099 from the start of the pandemic, of which 52.3% are male. Now, we've had 2 new cases on Zakynthos. Now, one has been directly reported in the local media. A second case of coronavirus for 2021 was recorded on Sunday. A 40-year-old man from Zakynthos who went to the hospital with mild symptoms. The man was tested positive and was then quarantined at home for 15 days. And obviously at the moment they're trying to trace all his contacts and that as well. However, it's not been reported if this man is connected to the 2 new cases that were reported on Saturday. And as I said, at the moment, there's a little bit of catch up going on with stats and figures, but keeping my eyes open and keep my ear to the ground and see if we get any more information on that. As of the 3 other cases of virus on Zakynthos, just before New Year's Eve, still no information or confirmation locally on the island. And thank you to those people who've also been sending me some other news locations based here on the island to go and check their stats and things. And I'm very grateful for that. And thank you for all the extra little bit of help that people are passing me as well. Anyway, as for the deaths at the moment, there's been 36 new deaths across the country. Now, that is down on the day before. That brings the total amount of deaths now to 4,957. The average age of those people passing away is 79 years of age. And 95.5% of those people had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. And the gender of the fatalities, if you're curious, 2,938 are male, 2,019 are female. And we do send our condolences to those people who have lost family members at this time or friends. Anyway, as for critical cases, now they're also down as well. Critical cases across the country at the moment, there's 421 people in ICUs, 282 of them are male, 139 are female. The average age of those people in critical care at the moment is 67, all right? And they do have underlying health issues as well and are over the age of 70. Now, according to information from the National Transparency Authority, they reported 1,296 COVID violations were ascertained over the Christmas period, with fines of 420,000 euros being imposed. Also, 3 companies have been obliged to suspend their operations for 15 days, and a total of 72,189 inspections for COVID observance were carried out on Saturday by the police, the Coast Guard, the DEMA and the EDA in their respective regions. Out of the total of 72,189 checks, 65,000 of those were carried out by the Greek police. Anyway, the main violation has been the non-wearing of masks and non-vigilance of the special conditions in regard to movement. In other words, they've been out after curfew time, or they've also been not booking out on their phones as well. So just be aware, the police are still very hot at the moment trying to do people. Now, this morning, checking the news this morning, there's been like a stop press announcement made, so I'm going to quickly give you this as well. More hospitals in Greece are being included as centres of COVID-19 vaccinations starting today as the immunisation plan accelerates. The 18 existing centres are being expanded to 60, with a further 55 mainland hospitals operating clinics by January the 8th. Vaccination centres within 19 hospitals on Greek islands should be operational by January the 12th. Now, you may remember that at the moment, we are going to have at the moment 2 vaccination centres here on Zakynthos. One of them will be in Katastari. The other will be in the old Eka building in town. At the moment, there's been no reports that the vaccine has arrived here on the island at the moment. There was talk of delays coming on. However, the authorities here are getting geared up for when the vaccine arrives. And as soon as it arrives, within like 24 hours of its arrival, then they will start vaccinating. Remember, if you want to get the vaccination, you have to book an appointment. You can speak to your accountant, believe it or not, about booking an appointment to get your name on the list. I've got to be honest, only having 2 vaccination centres here on the island, and when you think about even this island has at least 38,000 people on it, 2 vaccination centres really doesn't seem a lot. We were supposed to have had 5. That was then cut down to 2. And again, if you're in the north part of the island, you'll go to Katastari. If you're in the south part of the island, you will then obviously go to the one in town. But I just feel it's not enough. And maybe the hospital might also be used or pressed into service to do the vaccination. But anyway, we will see what comes as time unfolds. Also, an interesting story, and again, this is from one of the new media sources that I've been given. A Zakynthos deputy mayor and a representative of a local business that's owned by the said mayor were arrested and appeared in court yesterday for violating measures against the pandemic. Now, I've got to be careful the way that I say this. When we say a deputy mayor, we might be talking about what would in the old days have been classed a mayor of a region, and we have 5 regions here on the island within Zakynthos. We have Laguna, we have Arcadia, which is Silavi, we have Katastari has a mayor, Volymos has a mayor, and Kalamaki doesn't have a mayor. Kalamaki doesn't have a Kalamaki's mayor is in with Laguna. But anyway, so when they say a deputy mayor, again, because of the way the Greek media works here on the island, they don't name names, which can be a bit frustrating. But basically, a mayor here, a deputy mayor, not the mayor, a deputy mayor, has appeared in court for violations of the measures against the pandemic, along with a representative of a company that he owns. Now, it seems that the 2 men were arrested on Saturday afternoon after a complaint was made to the police. Now, Zakynthos entered the deputy mayor's shop, where there were 15 people, mostly without masks, not observing social distancing against coronavirus. Now, according to the deputy mayor and the company representative, they were filming. Okay, the police arrested the deputy mayor, and he is the owner of the store, which openly was illegal, and the representative of the company was arrested because he was the organizer of the film shoot. Anyway, both men were fined, as were the people for not complying with the protective measures against the coronavirus. It was noted that the TV crew was lawful, and all its members had their permits to be able to shoot, and were obviously wearing masks as well. So it's not been made very clear as to anything happened to them, but I think the TV crew were let away. But again, when you read Greek news, you don't always get the detail that you would get with normal news written by other media sources, like what we're used to in the UK. So just bear that in mind. And of course, the Greek privacy laws are really strict here, and you have to be very careful what you say, otherwise you're going to get sued. All right. So again, thank you for those news sources. They are very helpful. But again, and I'd say this to people, when you're reading news, which is of a Greek origin, and you're running it through Google Translate, you will find that you will not get the detail, okay, that you would expect. And that is because of the restrictions that is placed upon the media here in the country. Now, the Greek government spokesman yesterday, Stelios Petas, clarified the stricter restrictive measures to tackle coronavirus, which took effect from yesterday, from 6 a.m. And these restrictive measures are going to, at the moment, last for a week, up until the 11th. Now, the goal now is to try and get all the schools reopened all at the same time on January the 11th. As of yesterday, and I'd already reported this, the click and collect delivery system, that has now been stopped. Okay, shops are now closed, like bookstores, hairdressers, nail care services. Also, the Kateo, which is the MOT centres, they are not going to operate on this at all at the moment, so they have now been closed again. And also all hunting and fishing activities, they have also been suspended as well. Not that I'd want to be out hunting or fishing on a day like this, but just to let you know, they have been stopped as well. Now, these activities, Mr. Petas is saying, should resume on the 11th of January, based on the rules that were enforced during the holiday season. So again, we're going to wait and see what transpires from there. Now, the travel ban has returned to the strictest hours. So from 9 o'clock at night until 5 o'clock in the morning, nobody is allowed to be out on the roads. Also, the only people that are allowed out of their houses are people with medical emergencies or people who are going to work, all right? And they have a special form that they carry if they're stopped by the police, if they're out having to get to work before 5 o'clock or coming home during the night as well from whatever job that they have been doing. Also as well, just remind you that churches, they're going to remain closed, and there will be no blessing of the waters, which is a great thing that happens here on the day of the Epiphany. And services for the Epiphany will be performed internally by priests. They'll probably be doing that online like they did with Christmas and that as well. It says that the presence of believers for Sunday services will be allowed again with the rules that were valid at Christmas and New Year's Day. Now, if you might remember, they were going to allow people into churches on Christmas and New Year's Day. Depending on the size of the church, the church could then have so many people in on its size. And then in the end, they suddenly changed the rules to no one is allowed in the churches. You can do it online, the services, and people would watch the services while online. Now, at the end of the second week of January, the epidemiology situation in the country will be re-evaluated, and based on the evaluations, decisions will be made for other sectors of the social and economic communities then to start opening. What they're meaning by that is basically in the second week of January, they will then decide whether is it safe for other shops, businesses and that to maybe start to reopen. Hopefully common sense is going to prevail here. As I've said here on the island, we are an island. We are a closed community. I can't see any credit in us staying closed still. Businesses still need to get back to work. People still need to get back to their jobs. And we still need to get the economy, at least of this island, turning and burning again, to stop the ultimate fate of a lot of people who are basically going to go under because they just haven't been doing the business. However, meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance said yesterday, which I'm going to say it again. The Ministry of Finance said, I'll start with this again. Meanwhile, according to the Ministry of Finance, the companies which have remained closed by state order until the 11th of the month will not have to pay their rent for January. All right. At the same time, 80% of the monthly agreed rent and not the loss will be reimbursed to the owners from the budget so that they do not have any further losses than they have today. So what they're saying is the Greek government is going to be paying 80% of the rent of a business, not 80% of the money that they may have lost in their business, but 80% of their actual rent. Now, so therefore, the company that uses property will not pay rent in January. In addition, for legal entities that lease real estate, so if you're a person who has a business and your business is through a real estate agent who's renting on behalf of somebody, quite a common practice, so they don't have the bother of having to collect the money and everything else, they are actually going to be reimbursed, those people, only 60% of the monthly rent, okay, for January. So the measure includes all retail businesses, regardless of whether they operate with e-commerce services or home delivery, catering businesses, regardless of whether they operate with a product of distribution or a package delivery from the store, hair salons, beauty salons, businesses in the fields of culture, sports, gyms and other businesses, they will remain closed by state order, but they are also entitled to this 80% from the government. Right, now, in addition, tourism businesses such as hotels, accommodation, travel agencies and transport services are included as well, and they are particularly affected by the ban of travel from country to country. So again, they will also be entitled to this 80% or 60% if they're using a real estate agent for their business location. Anyway, in addition, companies that remain closed by the state's order during the holidays, as well as companies that will be closed by state order next week, as well as companies in tourism and transport sectors, they will have a rent discount in February as well. However, that rent discount is going to be slightly less than what they're giving away actually in January. Now, 8% has already been announced, and it's a bit complicated, by dividing the cost of the rent by 60% in the state, 20% in companies, tenants, and 20% in landlords. Basically, what they're saying is it won't be 80% for February, it will be 60%. So it goes down slightly. Obviously, trying to encourage people to get their businesses open, get back to work, so the state is not having to pay more money than it needs to. Anyway, they're also talking that owners will also be compensated 40% as well of their rent if they are leasing their business premises from a real estate company. So they drop the price down there as well. Now, other interesting story as well that came through yesterday is the Greek Aviation Authority said on Saturday, as of next week, the United Kingdom has been added to the list of non-EU countries from which citizens are allowed to enter Greece. Therefore, according to the new rules, citizens flying to Greece from Australia, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, Rwanda, United Arab Emirates and the United Kingdom can enter Greece as of midnight on Thursday, January the 7th. The authority added that the inclusion of all UK nationals is the list of non-EU citizens is aligned with the necessary changes brought effect by Brexit, which happened on January the 1st. So there you go. You're allowed back in the country here as of the 7th of January. A little other interesting little bit of news that came through yesterday. This is nothing to do with the island of Zakynthos, but it was a rather curious little story. Greek police discovered the body of a missing Chinese woman in Greece. The body was found inside a suitcase near the small town of Villa in west of Athens. Police identified the victim as 38-year-old Quinn Young Ling, who had disappeared from her home on October the 17th in the area of Macardo in central Athens. The coroner who performed a forensic examination had to do so on New Year's Eve, as the body was in an advanced state of decay. However, he did not identify any injuries. A toxicology examination will determine whether the woman was forced to take some form of substance that may have caused her death. And also, according to other reports, it's most likely that she was asphyxiated. So again, our condolences to her family, and also to the coroner who had to perform an autopsy on New Year's Eve. And finally, a nice little bit of good news for you, which is rather in keeping with today. Although Greece is full of many shades of blue. You've got the iconic blue rooftop, especially around Santorini and Mykonos. You always see the colour blue in everything, in the buildings, in the flag, as everything else. Also the skies as well, and the seas, they're all blue. But linguists and experts, and I never knew this, in the ancient world have long been puzzled by the conspicuous absence of a distinctive word for the colour blue in Greece's ancient past, all right? Yet, does this mean that ancient Greeks could not see the colour blue, as some have argued, or they just saw it differently, considering it's not a distinctive colour, but actually part of the spectrum of shades? Now, we know that language, especially regarding colours, has a significant impact on the way we experience the world around us. As a linguist philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein wrote, "The limits of my language means the limits of my world." Anyway, the colour blue in the ancient world, surprisingly, the word blue is missing from nearly all other ancient languages, including Chinese, Hebrew, Sanskrit. And rather than the colour we call the blue, it was linked mainly with green. Yeah. However, the Egyptians did have a distinct word for the colour blue, and not surprisingly, they were one of the only ancient peoples who had created a blue dye from a very early time in their history. And if you're curious now what the modern Greek word is for blue, well, there's two. There's ble, okay, and galaxico is the other word for blue. So I just thought you might want to know that. Anyway, can I just say thank you to all these people who've been getting in touch. I've got to say a special shout out to Degsy. Degsy is one of our entertainers we've had at Magdalena's. He's our Oasis tribute. Absolutely fantastic guy. Can I just thank you for your little recorded messages you sent me yesterday about the show? He says, Ginge, he says, I like to watch Homes Under the Hammer, but do you know what? I stopped watching Homes Under the Hammer. I watched your news. I absolutely loved what you're doing. I really enjoyed some of the information that you were passing to me. Some of it I was not aware of. And he's also watched some of my radio shows as well. But don't forget, you can download the radio shows. And can I just say that the my first show for New Year, show number 1 of 2021, that charted yesterday at number 53 in the pop chart. In the reggae chart, it went to number 24, and in the soul chart, it was at number 44. I thought it would have got in the ska chart. I was hoping it would make the ska chart, but no, not at the moment. But anyway, thank you for that. And don't forget, it's still in the Dropbox. You can download it, watch it on your TV screens, see the video, hear the music, or you can just listen to it on Mixcloud. And thanks again to Mixcloud for me charting as I keep on doing, and I really do appreciate that. I've got lots of people tuning in at the moment. I've got to say hello to Donna Bird. Nice to see you. Give you a wave. Carol Walker is also tuning in. Lovely to see you, Carol. Donna Bird says, Calimari Ginge. Nice to see you. She's from Liverpool, by the way. Colin Claridge Jones is watching as well. Nice to see you. Yeah, that's a new name. I don't remember. Where do I know you from? But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Brett Weston is also tuning in as well. Nice to see you. Raf Reg Buddy, Tommy Winston Burns is also tuning in as well. Lovely to have you here, Tommy. John Clifford is tuning in. Old Doppia John, nice to have you here, sir. Julie Allen is also tuning in as well. Lovely to see you, Julie. Jeff Chadwick is also tuning in as well. Sid James, he's also tuning in as well. Lovely to have you. Dave Cramp says, morning, Ginge, from a very wet, damp, rainy northern Stockton-on-Tees. Stockton-on-Tees. Hoping you are well, buddy. I certainly am. And do you know what? There's not much difference in the weather forecast today between the two of us. Chris Wall is watching as well. Also, Brian Slinger's tuning in. Raffreg Buddy, nice to see you here as well. Steve Lee is watching too. Nice to have you. He's from the northeast as well, as far as I can remember. John Clifford, he says, I can see myself in your glasses. The light is too bright. The reason for that is because you can't see that, can you? I've got one of these special lights now so that I can be seen when I do my live shows in here. Dennis Gecko-Mullis is also tuning in as well. Nice to have you tuning in. Ian Moss is also tuning in. Lovely to see you. Christine Coldwell is tuning in. Can I just say Happy New Year to Christine? I hope you had a good New Year. I did speak to Michael a little bit as well. It was great to speak to him. And I'm not sure if you've been working over the New Year as well, because first line worker, pharmacy technician. So again, I hope everything's great with you. Also, Wiggy Winstanley. God knows how many times I spoke to you, Wiggy, over this Christmas period and New Year period. Nice to have you tuning in as well from Cyprus. Also, Delia Gazzetti is also tuning in as well. That's Dennis's daughter. Nice to see you here. And once again, don't forget, 10% discount on your accommodation at Magdalena's. And you've got up until February to get that deal, all right? So make sure you book online, all right? So thank you for that. Also, Wiggy Winstanley says, morning, mate, from my garden in Cyprus. Nice to see you. Daley Johnson is tuning in as well. Rossi from Australia, from Rossi's place, is tuning in. Lovely to see you here, buddy, as well, checking up on what's going on. Give you a wave back. Ian Durbridge, Raffridge Buddy, is also tuning in as well. Tony Wallace is also watching. Lovely to have you tuning in too. Also, Tim Crystal from Oxford is tuning in, our Elvis tribute. Nice to see you here. Dennis Gukos is tuning in. Hello, Dennis. How are you doing, buddy? Nice to have you here. Don't forget, 10% discount up until the end of February. There you go. Get the ads in. Alf Ling is also watching as well. Ashley Duncan is watching too. Ben Burb is watching. Brian Slinger is watching. Morning, buddy. Freezing here. Oh, bless you, Brian. It's cold in the UK. Dennis from Michaela's restaurant down in Kalamaki. He's also tuning in as well. Nice to see you here. You're becoming a bit of a regular. Gary Eden is also tuning in. He's in Cyprus, I think, if I remember rightly. Hello, Gary. Susie Angus, also one of the entertainers here on the island, is tuning in as well. Lovely to see you here. I hope you had a happy new year. Anthony Wells from Spain is watching in at the moment. I've been reading reports about people having difficulty getting on flights in Spain at the moment from the UK and not being allowed in. Oh, we shall keep an eye on that because we don't want any of that going on here in Greece. Anyway, Rossi's place, he says, hi, Ginge, have a great year, my friend. Thank you, my man. John David Hester is also watching as well. Thank you there. Chris O'Gorman is watching. Maureen Elves is also watching from around the corner. I'll be looking forward to catching up with you guys because they've got a turkey, they've told us. They bought 2 and they want to give us a meal as soon as we're allowed to get together. So I shall look forward to that as well. And Alexandros Extrapolis is also tuning in as well. Lovely to have you tuning in. Steve Hodgson, oh God, I'm losing all my contacts here now, is also tuning in from Concert up in County Durham. He's a firefighter tuning in with his boys. Right, can I just say thank you? He's just said, hi, Ginge, from the Concert Fire Crew. That always reminds me of Trumpton. Don't ask me why. Pew, pew, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert, Dimmel and Grubb. Did you remember how to say that? But anyway, nice to have you tuning in. In fact, that reminds me of an old Acid House tune as well. I'll have to dig that one out, the Trumpton tune for you. But anyway, that's it from me. Can I just say once again, thank you to everybody that's showing a lot of great support for what I'm doing. I really enjoy it. It is quite a bit of work actually at times. I don't think people realise in our house, as soon as we finish this podcast, we're getting ready for the next one. And can I thank my partner Jane as well, because she's very patient, and also she's also very good. She's a bit shy about coming on because I think if we did it together, it'd be even better. All right. But Jane actually is always watching the news, always checking on stuff and cross-checking what I say and what I do. And also thank you to those people who've also been sending me new links to new sources of information as well. That is greatly appreciated as well. And we just work our way through. And also one thing that Degsy did say, he says, you know what, Ginge, he said, I've lost faith in the mainstream media in the UK. A lot of people have lost faith in the mainstream media in the UK, especially the coronavirus, on Brexit and all of that. I think sometimes they inundate people with scare tactics. People either don't know where to look for alternative opinion or alternative looks and alternative views, or people haven't got the time, and whatever they hear first is what they believe. And I know lockdown skeptics felt that they had failed in trying to get people to understand what was going on. However, it's about the tactics that are used. So instead of trying to hit people with lots of facts about things, it's about slowly changing people's opinions and trying to inundate you with more love than there is fear, so that you will then start to make your mind up as to what you believe is right for you, or what you may believe is just wrong. And normally there's a political agenda behind it. As soon as something goes on, then there is a political twist on it that comes in to support the political views of either party. Yesterday I said about Keir Starmer resigning from the Labour Party. I've been cross-checking that story like crazy. Yes, it was a big furore for a while. But again, Keir Starmer staying very quiet, not saying anything to anybody, whether he is resigning or whether he's not. But all we shall do is keep our eyes on it, try and be honest with what we report to you, try and not be dramatic or make you feel uncomfortable or scared, because the last thing we want you to do is not want to come back and visit us here in Greece, all right? Yes, we're in for some interesting times now that Brexit has come into force, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as what everybody is making it out to be. Yes, there are people with agendas who are saying the worst thing Britain could have done is to leave the common market or leave the EU. But in some ways, hey, listen, they wouldn't let us in the first place. We've been in, we've seen it. And do you know what? The EU is not what it was initially designed and set up to be. And there's a lot of other nations, and I'm including Greece here. If Greece hadn't taken as much money or been given money to bail out, I think Greece would have left the EU as well. But anyway, that's for you to talk about, worry about. But yeah, we'll see what 2021 brings and see what happens as time goes on. But anyway, I'm going to have to go now. I've got a cup of tea that's getting cold. And thank you again for all your support. And I will be with you tomorrow. Oh, don't forget, Wednesday will be my second show. If you've got any requests, any dedications, stick them in the comments below. And I shall be looking forward to the show on Wednesday. And Degsy, I'm sticking you in the show on Wednesday as well. So I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, that's it from me. Get back to Homes Under the Hammer or whatever you're watching, or just go back to bed because the weather today is awful. And I will see you tomorrow. You take care. Ta-ra.